Yay, yay, yay. So today let's talk about the art called movies. Actually, I'm so well dressed because I was supposed to have a recording for a client's podcast and unfortunately my guests rescheduled. So I thought to myself, this beauty cannot waste. So let's talk about the art of movies. This is another episode of Random Music. Hey Rockstar, welcome to another episode of Random Music. My name is Queen Rafi and this is my podcast, Queen Rafi Space. And for today's episode, I want to talk about the art of movies, the beauty that is making films. My God. Movies are fantastic. I've always been a fan of movies, right? I grew up on movies. My parents were big fans of Nollywood. Whether it was the Yoruba movies, whether it was the English-speaking movies, I grew up on them. You know, I grew up on The Full Moon. I grew up on Isakaba. I grew up on Goodbye Tomorrow. Like, all of those movies, my parents used to watch them. And for the Yoruba people, you know, Eronya, Shogbo, Yamileko, whatever. Like, I grew up on them and I was really into movies. I really enjoyed it. It was like a favorite pastime of my family. My dad used to go to video clubs at the time. Yep, his kid, you remember video clubs, don't you? Parents used to go to video clubs, they'll borrow the films and they would split it into two between, you know, us and them, because my parents, they really enjoy spending time with themselves. So my dad can borrow like 20, split it into 10. So we'd watch 10 in the parlor and they'll just enjoy 10 in their own room and just go ahead and just have fun with themselves. And it was just something I really enjoyed. And I remember back then when I go back to school, because I went to a boarding house, right? I would be the one telling my friends, when we are bored, we don't have anything we are doing, you know, we all sit down and I would be replaying this movie, scene after scene after scene, dialogue after dialogue after dialogue. I really enjoy movies. And growing up, I still enjoy movies, even though lately I've fallen off the track. I remember in my clubhouse rooms that I love to go to, every time a new movie comes out and they say, have you seen it? I'm like, I've seen it. That Rafi, how have you seen all these films? I mean, I've fallen off now because I just feel like I don't have as much time, and also the movies now are not as captivating as they used to be, or maybe I'm just old. Is that it? I mean, I'm just 32. I mean, 32 plus, because I'm going to be 33 soon, but you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I've always enjoyed movies. As a child, what fascinated me was the actors. I was fascinated by the actors, how they came up with their lines, how they were able to emote, you know, these characters, how they were able to get you to connect and, you know, transport you to another land where you even forget that you're actually watching a movie, you know? That was one thing that captivated me, but having grown up, I'm now more than ever captivated about everything else that happens behind the scene. Like the editing of a film, for example. I remember watching This Is Us, and I kept thinking to myself, what was going through the minds of the editors as they edited this film, as they put these pieces together, and edited it in a way that on a very good day, it could have easily been complicated for the audience, but no, the story just flowed effortlessly. You know, I think another movie I watched that also I was really fascinated by the editing was Jane. Is it Being Mary? No, it's not Being Mary Jane. Something Jane, where she was accidentally inseminated with sperm and she got pregnant even though she was a virgin. That one. Like, you know, an actor would finish saying cop and they would, you know, move the scene and then it would be a cop in the next scene. And I was just like, so fascinated. And then cinematography, camera shots, I started getting very fascinated by those. And then now I'm also fascinated by stories because I am a very, very imaginative person. I love my imagination. I stay there a lot. I bask in my imagination more times than I care to admit. So when I see people come up with some stories, I'm just like, wow. And I think I connect more with stories that have a human impact or stories that are true life. I don't really do very well with like sci-fi because I'm just like, big, no stress me, John Trolong, leave me alone. But you know, human stories. I remember watching this film called A Man Called Otto, I think, or Otto, O-T-T-O. That story was a simple story, but it was brilliantly told. Just like how I was fascinated with the film A Breath of Life, a Nigerian movie. Like a lot of people were fascinated by it. For me, it was how the story was so simple, but very well executed. Also very fascinated by my friend's film With Difficulty Comes Ease, because, you don't seamlessly representation on screen like that. And most of the times when I see people take movies like this and they execute it and they do it so well, and then when you watch a film and you cry, like for example, I was watching Chioma Chukwuka in Seven Doors and I forgot I was watching a movie. I really forgot. If you've seen the film, the part where Femi Adebayo comes in, who is the king, and he removes all his regalia, his crown, his agbada and everything, his ileke, which is his neck pieces, and he kneels down with her as she's crying and tells her, "This is me, Amaka, this is me, your husband." And I really felt that moment. I was crying and I had to remind myself, Rafi, you're watching a movie. Like, remove yourself. So I think for me, the art of movies, whoever came up with this, whoever thought this was something that was fascinating to do. I know some people are fascinated with music or whatever, and that's fine. But for me, it's movies. I mean, like I said, I'm not getting as much joy as I used to get from movies right now anymore, but the art of it will always be fascinating to me. The art of it will always be beautiful to me. The sheer grit that these producers put into their work will always be something that I will be fascinated by. So the producers, the directors, the actors, the editors, the sound guy, the lighting guy, because sometimes I think we forget, because we're only very used to seeing the actors, we forget that everything comes together to make a scene. You know, even how the light of a place is. For example, Ozark. If you've seen Ozark, you would realize that film was deliberately done in kind of like a dark, I don't know what it's called for the lighting guys, but it had like a dark hue, and it was deliberate, because I mean, a lot of the topics in that film were very heavy, and a lot of things that were going on was, you know, a lot. So it just made sense that it had that dark hue over it to kind of remind you of the intensity of what the story was trying to talk about. So yeah, I'm so glad I finally got to talk about this, and I'm even more excited I did it on camera because I look good. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and if you were fortunate enough to watch it live on YouTube, you're welcome. Have yourself a fantastic day ahead.